Hello, everyone. And we are so glad that you are joining us here today for the very first session of the very first ever Fall in Love with Morning Time Festival. So, online festival, I'm not sure it's ever been done before. Dawn and I said, this sounds like this would be a great idea. We want to fall in love with morning time, all of the truth, goodness, and beauty. And so we're going to do this. And yeah, that's what we're doing. So anyway, we are here today with Professor Carol from professorcarol.com. Hey, how are you doing?
Good morning. Good to be with you. I love to be with your audience.
I am so glad that you are here. So one of the things I love about Professor Carol, she is an expert in the humanities, in music, most especially, but in all of the humanities. She knows lots of things. She travels everywhere. Very fascinating. Visits all over and does a lot of work with sharing the humanities with audiences. So we're so excited to have her here. She speaks at the Great Homeschool Conventions, as I do every year, and just so much fun. Okay, but today we're talking about music, and we're talking about musical rhythms. So we're going to get on with that, and I do want to tell you we are going to have a special offer for you guys from Professor Carol. Dawn is going to put the details of it in the chat box for you, and you'll be able to see what those are there, but we're going to ask you to wait until tomorrow to go, because there's some internet issues today with Professor Carol's host. And we're also going to put this on the event page for you, and we'll send out a reminder in the email. But Professor Carol's actually offering you guys 2 months free of her Scholar Circle. And so it's a really great deal, but we want you to wait before you go check it out. So a lot of fun there as well. Okay, just some kind of housekeeping things before we get started. You're going to be able to see everything on your screen. You should be able to hear everything. If you lose your sound, or if something seems to go wrong, the best thing you could do is completely log out, click that link one more time, and come back on again, okay? You're going to be able to chat with the presenters in the chat box. And so if Professor Carol asks you a question and you want to answer, you can be sure to do that. If you need to ask either Dawn or myself a question, you can be sure to do that. And we're going to be in the chat box watching everything and making sure that that all of your questions get answered and we can see everything. You're not going to be able to chat with each other. I'm about to turn that functionality off, and you're only going to be able to chat with us. And that's so everybody can focus on what it is we're talking about today. And if you had a chance to listen to the songs we sent out earlier, fabulous. If you haven't had a chance to listen to those songs, that's okay too. I'm calling them songs, but they're probably more works. Professor Carol's probably over there cringing. She's like,
no, I'm not cringing. I'm looking at my PowerPoint. I don't have time to cringe.
Okay.
You raised a good point while we're still together.
Okay.
We're coming up in an era where, first of all, my generation, the 60s, everything was a song, and then it all becomes digital. And if you go to iTunes, you can pull up a Mahler symphony with a movement, something that lasts 90 minutes, and they're going to have it under songs. We've gone back to this generic term for all kinds of pieces of music. So you're right in with the trend,
Yeah, I am right in with the trend, but it seems really silly to call it a song.
It's really silly.
Yeah, it feels silly.
It's a work, it's a piece of music, a composition, and some of them are songs, but
not all of them.
Hey.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to turn this over to Professor Carol, because we could probably do a whole thing on just that right there. But I'm going to let her share her screen and get started talking to us about these kind of interesting, fascinating rhythms in music.
Okay. Hello. And I'm actually now going to put my screen so that probably what you're seeing, actually, I don't know how it looks on your all's end. I can see a screen, and let's see, I'm trying to get so I can still see the chat box. Actually, that seems to be not there now that I'm, oh, wait a minute here. Let's get this. This is certainly exciting to have all this in one place. That's more excitement visually than I can handle. Okay. Well, on my side, it looks, you know what it looks like on my side? It looks as if I took everything I own in the kitchen drawer and dumped it on my computer screen. But if it looks good to you all and you see a PowerPoint, is that what you see? Good.
I can see a PowerPoint. Yep.
More or less. Okay. Well, I'll just pretend like I can see through everything and we will go on. I think I'm going to be able to change. Oh, okay. So I've called this Exploring Exciting Rhythms, kind of a silly little talk in a way, but title in a way, but rhythm is exciting. It is. And we'll come to some of the reasons why. Pam very kindly mentioned that we'll have a invitation for you all to join for 60 days with us with not only no obligations, but you don't have to do anything, like no payment information, none of that. We'll just bring you into our fold, so to speak, invite you to come over to our house, so to speak, and you'll have access to all of our courses, many of which are for high school, upper middle school and adult, but some of which are very much for younger people as well. And so you can explore all that as you have time and desire to do so. And I'm going to say, if I'm going to talk about rhythm, I better define rhythm. Well, first of all, rhythm is the dearest thing in our lives. The minute that heartbeat, when we were all in our mama's womb came, we were making rhythm. In fact, the first sound we ever heard was our mother's heartbeat and a pulse. I mean, think about it. Inside the womb is pretty noisy. You can hear that if you've ever had a sonogram, or any of you all have ever had some of these therapies, which tend to be mostly older people, you realize how noisy you are inside, you know? I mean, and even if you put your hands over the ears, have you ever done that? I'm doing it now. And you get in a quiet place, you'll hear all this boom, boom, boom. You'll hear your heartbeat. You'll sort of hear noise, and it's pulse, and it's regular. A pulse then is a pattern of rhythms, all right? And a rhythm, I should say, is a pattern of pulses. A pulse is a sound. It could be irregular and go faster, slower. But when we talk about rhythm, we're talking about sort of organized patterns of sound. Does that make sense? And there are endless rhythms. And we are Westerners in the Western culture, so we perceive rhythm based on primarily duple and triple. We perceive rhythm in 1, 2, 1, 2, or if you want 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that would be triple. And, you know, slews of music. In fact, most of the music you've known all your life is either in 1 and 2, like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or a triple 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Really, and primarily most of it is duple, quite frankly. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's just a fact. 3 blind mice. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 happens to be a rest, but it's a beat anyway. The wheels on the bus go round and round. 1, 2, 1, 2. I actually like that song. Some people get annoyed by it. I like it. Or da da dum. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Right? I mean, again, we could spend just forever playing simple or not so simple songs, Beethoven symphonies that are in Mahler symphonies, and things that are in 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is just 3 plus 3, right? Or 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 2 plus 2. So triple or duple, that's what we do in the Western culture. We're good with that? Now, don't think that's not interesting. Some of the most exciting music in the world and the most moving music in the world, in fact, most of the music that most of us know is in 3 or 4. And when you think about 1, 2, 3, 4, that immediately makes people think of marches, or at least it can make you think of that, right? A march. Right, I've got this really funky keyboard. My piano's upstairs, but the internet's not so good upstairs. So if we had the beautiful piano, we'd be upstairs. If we had the little old, you don't want to know how old keyboard, we're down here, okay? We have internet or we have beauty. But, you know, we're not going to get both in this situation. But what I want to say is, if you haven't spent time, and if we have any parents or tutors, and to the kids, if you haven't listened to marches, you know, we listen to a lot of, forgive me, insipid, fairly uninteresting, boring music these days, even in a lot of our films, even films designed for children. I'm on this big kick with vintage LPs for the grandchildren. Let me tell you, It's so clear, the music. It's so communicative. It was played by live orchestras, radio orchestras, studio, theater, music industry orchestras, and Hollywood orchestras. Anyway, the point is, go back to marches, little ones. If you happen to have some of the kids that may be watching this, if you have a little toddler or tiny baby sister or brother, put on, just even put on it. Go to Sousa marches. Do you guys know Sousa? He's one of our national, John Philip. And I will not necessarily get the last spelling of the Philip part right. I can't remember. It's 2 L's and 1 P, 2 P's and 1 L. Forgive me. Sousa marches, the Thunderer March, or like I was doing before. Da 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 da. Right? I mean, it's the march rhythm. I mean, marches. If you've ever been in the band, marches are it. And if you have a little, as I was saying, a little kid in your life, a little child, a niece, a nephew, a baby sister, baby brother, put some marches on, maybe get some bells, and get around their hands. There's a little child, right? There's a little child. I'll pick up my phone and you're holding the little child, and you take your hands on either side and you clap with that child, and the child will be going, wah! And you are putting into, oh, thank you, whoever's putting links. That's great. You are putting into that child an understanding of music. You can do waltzes, right? But the little one is going to be more excited at this thing, right? The point being, we already have rhythm built in us. And what we need to be taught is how to sort of hook in cognitively with rhythm, right? With the pulses, with the music, and then ultimately learn, once we get a certain age, 4, 5, 6, 7, 50, 60, 70, 80, how it all works on paper, right? And how we count it out as musicians or even as listeners. It's great. We stop right there. We're all happy. Now, but what I want to do primarily today is look at some other rhythms. And if you got the email or if you looked at the description, I gave you some things to listen to that are not 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because quite frankly, composers don't always have to use just a simple duple or a simple triple. And there are many other ways to take very simple rhythms and make them wildly exciting. One of them would be what we call syncopation. We'll come to that in a minute. But what I'd like to do, and the example I gave you, which comes from YouTube, is not very thrilling. In fact, you can hardly hear it. But that's what's available. I can only link to you what I can link to you. Copyright issues being what they are. And all of our efforts, all of us, to make sure we're not infringing copyrights in any way. I can't just pick a recording I have and play it for you, which I'd like to do. And if you go on iTunes or Spotify, you can look for this yourself. But here's the thing I want to go to very briefly. It's a work by a composer you may or may not know, Mikhail Glinka, a Russian composer well before Tchaikovsky. He's considered the father of Russian music, if somebody's got to have that label. Generation before Tchaikovsky, actually more than a generation, almost 2 generations. He's not a name you know, but he was living the same time as, say, Schubert, if that tells you anything. Schumann. Basically Mendelssohn, that kind of time period. Romantic, or early romantic Russian 19th century composer whose fame lies on 2 operas, primarily A Life for the Tsar and a fairy tale opera called Ruslan and Ludmila, both of which are gorgeous. A Life for the Tsar is actually an historical opera, and some of you who've taken my Imperial Russia course or will take it, you'll hear me talk about that work a lot. It's very important, and the plot is about some very dicey, crazy parts of Russian history called the Time of Troubles in the beginning of the Romanov dynasty, the one that we know with Catherine the Great, Peter the Great, all those people. Okay, enough said. There's a wedding chorus in there because this young lady's being married in the village, and something very sad has happened. And her father's actually been taken away by soldiers. So but the wedding is like a 4 or 5 day event in Russian villages. It's not something you go to for 2 hours in the afternoon, as it is in our culture. And there are all these rituals that happen during the day, different things, okay? So there's this time when the bride is going to have her, the single women in the Slavic culture, the folk culture, still today, they have a braid. And when they're to be married, it's cut, right? And then they will wear one of those wonderful head things as married women. I'm sure it's very traumatic if you've grown your hair all your life and suddenly you're being married at probably then 14, 15, 16. Somebody's going to cut your braid. that's got to be tremendous. But, and I think it's before that or after that. There's all these preset events. But in the opera, her girlfriends gather, and they know when she marries, she will go to the next village, and they'll probably never see her again. She'll probably never see her family again. She's not sure she's ever going to see her father because he's been arrested for political reasons. Anyway, so it's kind of a sad thing. It's happy, but it's sad. And they do a dance in the opera on the stage. They do what's called a round dance. These are very common in folk music. We do it in our American folk music. And, you circle hands and you do a round dance. So at any rate, and actually I see that I'm putting things on privately, and I would like to change that so that I'm actually writing to you all, but I don't know how to do that. Oh, but she's doing it for me. I love this. Anyway, when you listen to it, if you listen to it, and if you go see a performance of the opera, that's even better. That's hard to find. Now that I'm kind of going, wow, let me calm down. Woo, calm down. And it's beautiful. It's sung by the gals in chorus, women's chorus, and it's got a soft string accompaniment, which will not come out in this keyboard, unless you happen to have your opera chorus with you and your orchestra at home. Do you? That'd be great. But it goes like this. Let me make it a little quieter. Okay. There's only so much I can do with this keyboard, but at least I have it, right? Anyway, that gives you an idea of how it goes. Pretty, isn't it? Lovely. Does it sound like real Russian folk music, which if you were out in the village, not quite. I mean, that's a lot rougher and a lot more visceral and a lot more kind of intense. And you've heard folk music. I hope that's a whole nother talk. We should do that at another time. Folk music is not from a highly trained voice and a beautiful violinist. Folk music's from fiddles and banjos and instruments people make themselves and ring and knock, and it's from a voice that comes out at you, right? And it doesn't matter whether it's trained or not, usually isn't. But nonetheless, it's a pretty thing. It's an opera, so it's not going to be untrained music found out in the mud. Basically, it's going to be something that's filtered through the system of the classical training. But the girls will be in these beautiful costumes. But here's the thing. The way the rhythm on that, after all that is said, it's not in 1-2 or 1-2-3 or 1-2-3-4. It's in 5. And that's the part I kind of want to say about it. That when you hear that, you weren't thinking, oh, that's a wild, crazy rhythm. But let me count it with you. And you can count along with me. I'll slow it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. You could do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. But this kind of goes sort of in a long phrase. And that's one thing that makes it sound sort of prettier, because it's not a 4-beat measure, it's a 5-beat measure. So it's a little bit more like caramel, molasses. So it's got an extra beat in there, and it's smoother, longer. Got a little room to stretch out, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that part goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has a little fermata, which is where you hold it a little bit. And later on it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the way through, it's in 5. Now, Glinka was doing that, and that was a wild, crazy thing to do in the 1830s. Not completely wild, but people weren't doing a lot yet, anywhere in Europe, Russia, anywhere, in bringing actual folk music into operas and ballets and symphonies. They would be in 20, 30, 40 more years, a lot. But right now, the idea that he went out and kind of made that wedding dance into 5 got noticed. People in the audiences in 1830, there were quite a few things he did in that opera that made people go, whoa, this is us. This is about us. This is about our villagers, our folk, not just our czarist history and military history, but it's about the people. And that's a very important thing in all of 19th century historical culture, whether it's painting or theater or politics. Think of all the national uprisings and reorientations of the maps in the 19th century and the wars and the strife and it's all connected. Comes down to this chorus, right? No. So anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4. You got it? That's a pretty one. And this section that I already played, the girls are singing. I can't replicate a woman's chorus. Wouldn't that be cool? They go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. And it's that little thing I just did. I wanted to comment on. If you ever actually hear Russian folk singing by Russian village people, they might work as computer engineers, but they're still able to replicate the authentic Russian music. You'll find out they do a lot of this. And if you go out and you hear little kids singing in the villages in Russian, even to this day, they might be singing the wheels on the bus. The wheels on the bus go round and round. That's a kind of a folk intonation. I didn't even put that word down. A folk, and enough said about this. We have to move on. Always have to move on. Have you noticed that? I don't know what that's all about. But it's a little twist that if you actually were out in the village, and again, if you've ever been to a fiddle convention here in the United States, I now live in North Carolina after decades in Texas. And there's all these fiddle festivals. I mean, they're everywhere, but in particular here, the Galax and right around where we live, High Point, and you go hear fiddlers and you hear what they're really doing. They're doing some kind of interesting little intonations that are harsh and zingers, right? That's a little zinger, okay? So you get that. So more than enough to say, now the whole opera is really wonderful. It has polonaises, Polish dances, because the Russians are fighting the Poles, so they bring in Polish folk dances, and it's got a very beautiful arias and excitement and all kinds of things. It's not your basic core repertoire. I wish it were. We'd know and understand a lot more about Russian music if we could start with that instead of the works written 2 generations later by people like Tchaikovsky, as marvelous as they are. So enough said about that, but you're okay with that being 5, right, everybody? Because I'm going to go to something else. I'm going to go to a guy named Dave Brubeck. I had a slide in here with everybody's dates. And Dave Brubeck, I think his dates, let's see, I had all this laid out with his quartet and his players. Who knows where that slide went? I think it's somewhere outside. I'm pretty sure I left it outside by the mailbox, apparently. But Dave Brubeck, you can look it up. I think he died only in 1912, quite an old guy, and had a magnificent career as a jazz musician. He had some of the best people. Paul Desmond was his sax player, who died very young in 1977, quite sadly, because he was one of the great sax players in jazz. And he worked with Joe Morello. He worked with all these different people. But there's a tune called, thank you, 1912, very good, called Take 5. And it came out on this LP, which I still have. Mine looks like I've run a tractor over it. I probably did. But nonetheless, Take 5, it came out in 1959, if I'm not mistaken. And it just revolutionized people's idea of jazz. I mean, jazz was a big thing in the 40s, 50s, 60s, through the 70s. And then it kind of lost out to pop and rock. It didn't have the money. It didn't have the prestige. It didn't have the kind of... Hollywood glamour behind it anymore. But there was a period when jazz did have that after the Second World War, after 45, 50, jazz goes back to really the turn of the century, goes back to ragtime. It goes to Maple Leaf Rag. It goes, we could do a whole series on jazz history, actually. And we treat a lot of that in our American courses on our Circle Scholars, one called America's Artistic Legacy. We really follow quite a bit of jazz history in there, because that course ends about 1950, but we get a good half century of it in. At any rate, with this Brubeck was a great piano player, composed a lot of music. Desmond was a fabulous sax player. They all worked with great bass players, and they had the whole thing going. But then he did this piece. Let me see. Let me get. Have you ever heard it? That was the piano riff. You can do that forever, right? I need a sax player. The melody I'm playing is what the sax would have been playing in the opening. And here's the thing about it. It's another 5, but very different than Glinka. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Is everybody clapping with me? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. I can't hear you. No, I can't hear you. I wish I could hear you. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And I'm going to sort of swing it a little bit. 1, 2, 3. I'm not much of a swinging kind of musician. I'm not a jazzer. I get with a lot of jazzers. I just did a tour where one of the guys on our tour that I just finished 10 days ago, he's actually a really well-known jazz pianist. Let me tell you something. Every time we were in a hotel with the piano, he was at it. It was so cool. But we surprised a lot of people getting off that bus. But 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. He's a jazzer. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. There. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. And see, it's got this little hesitation. It's like 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2. Yeah. Take 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't play the saxophone, count out loud, and do the piano part. My brain won't do that. That's partly because I'm not a jazzer. But you're familiar with it, and I'm sending you to the real thing anyway. So you can go and listen to Brubeck playing it, and they'll set it up with this 2, 3, 4, 5. And the clip I recommended to you that seems fairly stable on YouTube that you can link to. You never know where those clips are going, but this one seems like it's going to be there. Black and white, of course, sort of like for live TV. People used to play live on TV. They didn't need 500 banks of speakers. They just had a few instruments. Can you imagine? It was cool. And then she's putting it back up so you can look at that now. But it's after you get this simple, then they go off and do what all jazz does, which is they go into episodes. Solo sax, emphasizing the drums, emphasizing the bass, and then they come back together with that. And it's a marvelous piece, and they could actually go and go and go and go if they wanted to. So that's how that all works, all right? Take 5. And if you count it out in straight 5 and not just in 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. And it's pretty easy to do, right? Now, if we speed it up, it gets a little harder. And this is another thing. There's another piece called Blue Ronda a la Turk. And this was another super hit by Dave Brubeck, doing kind of the same thing. He did a lot of this. He liked to play with these additive or collective rhythms. And this one goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Let's count it. Count slower. I'll count slower. You go with me. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Now, it adds up to this sort of the same, right? What have you got? You've got 6 and 3. That's 9. 6 and 3. That's 9. 6 and 3. That's 9. 3 and 3 and 3. That's 9, right? Last time I looked, it was 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. If you don't want to clap beat on your head, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Actually, not a bad way to do it. Don't hit too hard. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. Got it? Say it out loud. Because if you do this, okay, I got to find something to tap on. Here, if you do this, you might as well go back to bed. Who knows what you're doing? Knocking on the door, trying to get the book to open. Hi, how are you? Are you counting out loud? I don't think so. So count with me the numbers. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Can you do it? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm hoping you're doing this with me. I'm going to go a little bit faster and do the 3 lines of 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. If you don't want to count, you just want to say it, that's okay too. If you spit it out, not on that won't work. And then go to the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and tell me the effect. Ready? And 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. What happens when you get to the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3? How does it feel to you? Maybe nothing. Makes you want to go get a lemonade, maybe. Can you feel it sort of throws you differently? Can you feel sort of a roundness there? It almost seems wrong, but it really seems right. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. You feel like you finally get into it. Yes. You finally sort of, okay, you settle because it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, a little irregular. I'm sorry. This is what the piece sounds like. And again, you can go to the link and I bet someone will put one of those up. We have it, but maybe I didn't put that in there. I'm not sure. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I got to keep going. But let's listen to it. It sounds like this, except it sounds way better. And because they're doing it. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Except it's gonna go faster. Right? Got it? Okay. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2. Go dance, etc. You know, you can get little kids to do this. They're not going to go so fast. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3. Get them to go 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, and dance it out, fling it out. Get them to draw with a crayon. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3. However, because let's say, look, rhythm is not something that's just intellectual. It is intellectual. It's not something that's just physical. It is physical. It is not something that is just oral with our ears. It is oral. It's not something that's just digital. It is digital. It's not something that's just vocal when we sing. It is vocal. It's all of those. Okay? We good with that? Let's do another one. Because I want to go to something else and another irregular rhythm. And this is two people, Zoltan Koldai, Bela Bartok. Bela Bartok's at the top. Okay, Bela Bartok. I won't put the accents in. And you've gotten this. I'll tell you a little bit about them. Okay. Why they matter? Well, they matter. Both of them were extraordinary composers. But the reason I'm bringing Bartok into this now is that he and his buddy, they were students together. They were friends. They were buds. They were in school. They were training in Budapest. They both could have gone anywhere in Europe, but they made a decision to stay in Budapest and not go to Vienna, not go to Paris, which they easily could have done, but to be home. They were very strongly interested in their homeland, their folk culture, okay? So you've got this newfangled invention of the gramophone. And if you've not studied the gramophone, it changes the world. It changes the world. It is as big a change to the world as internet is today. The ability to create, they were cylinders, initially round. They look like that. That's not a cylinder, it's a speaker, but they were about that size, but longer. The one you see in the picture there, and they turned, and you would speak into that horn, and it would etch a pattern into soft wax. And then you take that pattern back to another machine and play it back. All right. So then later the flat discs, actually not later, they were going at the same time, but flat discs went out, right? We call those records. Most people don't, you can still find cylinder recordings up through the 30s almost. But at any rate, the gramophone, what they did is they put these things on their back, and they were not the only people doing this. And they went out into the boonies. They went not just to Hungarian villages, but Romanian, Bulgarian, Serbian, all over the place to listen to authentic to the phonograph to capture authentic folk melodies. The picture you're looking at right there is as famous as any picture in music history. I'm telling you, it is as famous as it gets, because there you see the peasants have, you know, dressed up to come, this man from the city, from the conservatory, from the Institute, Musical Academy, whatever you want to think about it, with this new technology, and he's asking them to sing these beautiful folk songs, all right? And they not only sing, but they play. And I'd love, again, to stop and play you a bunch of beautiful, real Hungarian folk songs. There's all kinds of issues, copyright-wise, why I can't do that from recordings. But I can give you some recommendations if you write me. And they're just gorgeous, but they're also startling, and they're intense. And as with any folk music, the lyrics are pretty wild and crazy, right? Sometimes very sad, sometimes very upsetting, sometimes so gorgeous you can't stand it, about nature, about love, about sadness and craziness. Anyway, there's a wonderful example. And then what they did is they went and took those cylinders back, and they transcribed them onto paper, except you can't really make those sounds go into lines and spaces. There you see them. You see them working. Yeah, Kodály working. And you see this, yeah, I think you can see more than I can see, actually. I hope so. And they spent hours trying to come up with a way to write down these sounds, which is not entirely possible. But it could look something like this. Check that out. There'd be an attempt to put the text, and then to put notes, put all kinds of little things. And this is important. If you're coming back at our next session a little bit later today, I'm going to be talking about two pieces of music that, if you haven't heard works like this, will really, I think, astonish you. I hope. And you'll find the reality that Bartok and Kodály already had, which is lines and spaces and circles. As wonderful as they are, they serve Beethoven and Brahms and Mahler and Tchaikovsky and Bach and Haydn and quite well. But there are things you cannot capture in them. There are things you cannot capture, period. And if you have anything that's slightly difficult to fit into that system, you've got to come up with something on your own. Okay? So another thing about Kodai, and then we're going to wrap this up with one example. We're okay though. I think we're doing okay. Kodai was big into teaching children, and he devised what's called the Kodai method. My guess is you have maybe heard of this if you've done elementary ed training, if you've ever been like a choir director, or you've studied, I don't know, all kinds of ways. Kodai created a signal system, a hand system, the Kodai method, a way to teach children pedagogically. Bartok was big into that too, but not so much for solfege. Yes, exactly. Someone has written, is this a sol fa system? Yes, it was his own version on solfege and the pedagogy of how he felt it should be taught. And if you're curious about this, you can go to all kinds of places, maybe even your own city. There's all, to this day, if you were to train as an elementary music teacher, you would be learning Kodai, or if you were just all kinds of ways you might learning. So the two of them, in addition to writing orchestral music and vocal music and songs, and Bartok wrote operas and gorgeous orchestral tone poems, and just so much stuff, beautiful things, great gobs of fantastic piano music. And so did Kodai and Concerti, Bartok, and I mean, all of it. They were really focused on this thing of capturing and not just using it like I might put a mask on. That's important. But putting it into their whole being so that what came out had the substance of the purity and the strength of their own folk music that surrounded them all over that part of what we call Eastern Europe. It's really Central Europe. Okay. So I'm going to close with one example from one of his 6 dances in Bulgarian rhythm that is in book 6 of what's called the Mikrokosmos. Mikrokosmos, some of you kids, maybe you've already started your Latin, maybe you started your Greek, but anyway, you know about taking roots apart. And Mikrokosmos, you can see, means small world, right? And it's 6 books of keyboard music. It starts with the simplest lines. In fact, he wrote it for his son Peter to teach him how to play the piano. And they're these kind of strange patterns, but you get used to it very quickly. And they're beautiful, really. And then he made peace. Each book got a little harder. It was a complete method of learning to play the piano and to hear music and to count and to understand everything about music up to that point, up to that level. I have to readjust my head. So at any rate, this dance in Bulgarian rhythm, it's number 6, okay? There's 6 of them, and this is number 6. And it's going to count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, let me slow it down. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Are you counting with me? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Are you counting? Are you? Oops. Okay, so this isn't what it sounds like. Again, go to the real link, because first of all, I think people play it way too fast right now. There's this whole tendency in the classical performance world to take everything super fast. I mean, we drive fast, people do. Think of baseball, how much faster the baseball is thrown today than it would have been in Mickey Mantle's day or Babe Ruth's day, right? Everything's faster. And when you go to competitions, you hear this fantastic playing and everything's so fast, you kind of want to go, whoa, slow down, no ear can grab this. But at any rate, many of your recordings that you'll hear are just almost wild. And I think on the link I gave you from yesterday's information, there's a little girl, she's like 6 or 7 playing this. And let me tell you, she's playing it. Not most people can do that, okay? So you might enjoy that looking around. This is a very popular piece, but here's how it's gonna go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. How much is that? 6 plus 2, 8. You say, why isn't it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a lot harder, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, I can't even make myself do that. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And we'll speed it. Are you counting? Everybody, I know, I can tell you, some of you are writing me that you're counting. Super. Laura and others, thank you. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, you got it? It can even go faster. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. I can't. It's hard for me to count out loud and play. And then it goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, but I don't have enough notes on the keyboard to do it. You know, these keyboards are 5 octaves. Pianists are 8, right? 8+. So at any rate, you have plenty of resources to see these things and to hear these things. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can have competition and see who can do it the slowest and still keep the feeling. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Or you can say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. But that's way too fast. What you got to imagine is that people did folk dances and they played hopscotch games to these patterns. And by the way, if you all had grown up the way our great grandparents grew up playing hopscotch, because there wasn't a lot else to do in the boonies, right? Great great grandparents back in Europe. And if you ever go to villages and you watch the children playing, and even in the cities in some parts of the world, they will do what we might call hopscotch games to rhythms that will floor you. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And someone asked, do they keep playing, speeding up the songs to see if they could keep on dancing, like who falls over first? I don't know. That could be fun too. The point is, each one of the pieces that Bartók writes has something that's a little bit interesting and unusual. And as he gets further along, lots of these rhythms. There are countless pieces like this, and they're all fun. It doesn't mean that 1, 2, 1, 2, da 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 dum is anything boring, and it doesn't mean dum bum bum 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. I mean, what doesn't mean any of that's not exciting, because it is. Let's see, Mimi's waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Right from La Boheme. Da, 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 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Strauss waltz. Are you kidding? That's just great. Tangos and every dance in the world. But it is fun to do exciting rhythms at times that don't do what you expect them to do and force us to use a mathematical side of our brains to be able to put it together enough until it kind of comes into our hearts and souls, fits into our ears, and comes out naturally. And that's what this repertoire does. And I hope you've enjoyed a chance to get to know some of it. And hello, thank you all those who you were writing. I see people, different names, Emily and Mare and others. I wish I could stop and talk to all of you. I can if we end up working together when you're the right age or something, whenever point that might be, or with your families in some of our courses, which some of them are in hard copy. Some of them are only online. Right now, I was making reference to Imperial Russia, and I made a reference to America's Artistic Legacy, the one with the orange and the gazebo there, which is, it's a fairly serious course. These are, most of these, not all, most of them are high school credit. So, but you can still do them when you're younger and have fun. And I think we're done, aren't we, Pam?
I think we are, but that was so fun and so exciting. I was sitting over here clapping. I had no idea there were all of these different rhythm variations. So wonderful. Well, guys, thank you to Professor Carol so much for coming on and sharing all of these rhythms with us. She will be back. Let me double check my schedule so I don't tell you anything wrong. She will be back at 11:30 Central Time. So that is 45 minutes from now. And she is going to be talking about the music of intensity and power. Now, this next session is really geared towards high school and adults. So moms, if you can work yourself a lunch break or a snack break at that time and you want to come back and watch and listen, yeah, it's going to be just as good as this session. And I learned so much. It was so much fun. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, guys, we're going to sign off for now. We will get the recording of this one up within the next 24 hours. Sometimes I'm at the mercy of how fast my computer will process these things. And the fact that I have children out there who want to eat and have to do math pages, but we will get them up for you. And yeah, and you're right. Shasta's saying the link doesn't seem to be working. This is true that the link is not working right now. It'll work tonight or tomorrow. So Professor Carol's web host is having some problems today. That's just the way it happens sometimes, especially when we plan something special. They have problems. So do check back and we'll send out a reminder, and we're going to put a little button on the festival page in the vendor session for Professor Carol that's going to stay there the entire rest of the festival, so you'll be able to access that special that she has for you guys. Okay, we'll see you again in about 45 minutes. Thank you.
See you later.